in both cases.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very sad. I seem to have lost one vote in that correction. I'll go home very sad. Thank you. I think this has been a very intelligent debate, and I, commend all the members who have spoken for speaking and, addressing the issues in a very good way. And I do thank Chester Burrows and Rodney Hyde and Chris Finlayson and Charles Chevelle for their comments about me, and this being my last afternoon in Parliament. And I also agree that the Herald editorial, even though I didn't entirely disagree, it was a bit too positive about the resulting bill, but I think it did highlight a point about the importance of MMP in resolving issues in this House and the role that smaller parties play in resolving those issues. And I think that all of the parties represented, including the Green Party, made some contribution to the positive changes that happened in relation to the bill. I think I did a bit of arithmetic about how the 12 months could be changed to 6 months and we'd still get, I mightn't have been the only one doing the arithmetic, but I think it all sort of helped to shorten the time frame of this particular bill. And I do thank Chris Finlayson for saying that, reminding me and us here that the bill lasts for 6 months, so the question of appeal rights being not available during that period because of Clause 5A that unfortunately went down in the vote, my motion to omit it, that will only last for 6 months. Now, I just want to make one or two more general points that Hone Harawira, and I made some points about what could happen with agencies leaving covert video cameras as a result of exercising search warrants on private property, fisheries, commerce, customs, etc. And Hone talked about, the possibility of video cameras and marae and all the rest of it. And that might seem a bit extreme. It might seem, that would never happen. And I think it reflects a problem we have in some of the debate we have in this Parliament, in that two things. One, I think I'd just say that a lot of MPs get emails from people who are quite paranoid already, and they think that there are people spying on them and following them and all the rest of it. And I think that response, the number of such emails would increase if we give state agencies the power to put covert video cameras in private houses or private offices. So that would be a downside. But the other side to it is that often we think in terms of our current government and the sort of political character of our current government. And I often used to get, when Labour was in, Helen Clark would never do that, in response to my criticism of some increase in state powers. And I said, well, the issue isn't whether Helen Clark would do it. The issue is whether a more repressive government, say a Muldoon-type government or whatever, would do it. And similarly, it's not a question of whether a John Key government would do it. It's a question of whether a more repressive government might do it. So we always must frame laws with the idea that some more nasty government might come into office and use these laws in a more repressive sort of way. And I think one of the reasons why in Europe there's quite a consciousness, possibly a stronger consciousness of civil liberties, is that they've been through some quite repressive government situations, and they hold jealously onto their human rights and have European human rights courts and all kinds of things. And I take Chris Finlayson's point that stuff can go through the British Parliament pretty quick as well. But I think we have to bear that in mind much more. And when Tony Ellis talks about the international law and the UN Human Rights Committee and the human rights cases he's taken and won there, and talks about how a case relating to this bill could go before the Human Rights Committee on the basis of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, etc. He's sort of trying to look at the law, and I think that's useful. Tony Ellis is a respected lawyer, trying to look at our law in an international context. because the fundamental, and it relates to what Charles Chevelle just said, that it may be true that there are some criminals who write things on whiteboards and escape the attention of the law because of that, and they might be serious criminals, etc., etc. But the fundamental issue that we have to always bear in mind is that the protection of civil liberties, and I think keeping the state out of people's bedrooms and offices with their video cameras as part of it, the protection of civil liberties does mean some guilty people, some criminals, some serious criminals go free. But it's a balance. It's a balance between the rights you apply to the total population, which might diminish to some extent the powers that the police and other state agencies have. But that is the balance we should have in a free and democratic society, and I would appeal to future parliaments to really look closely at that balance and where it should lie. And the reference before, at the end, by Charles Chevelle about entrenching the Bill of Rights. I constructed a private member's bill with the help of various members of this House from other parties, and I do, I'm very pleased that they engaged with that process with me to try and strengthen the Section 7 process of checking legislation and of really strengthening up the application of the Bill of Rights in the judicial system. The bill itself has languished because there haven't been many private members' bill ballots for several months, so if any, so it's my bill didn't actually come out into the public space to the extent that I would have liked it, but I would invite any other member of this House to pick it up and carry it in the next Parliament, or in either its present or amended form. But I think the fact that we've had such a discussion of the Bill of Rights around this bill is very valuable, and I appreciate what Chris Finlayson said about there being a Bill of Rights clause in this particular bill, and I do look forward to the next Parliament really taking up these issues in a serious way. Thank you.
The Honourable Nanaia Mahuta.
Mr. Speaker.